Hey everybody, I hope you're doing good. I am touching base with another episode of The Realness, okay? I think I'm gonna do most of these tapings around the Real Housewives franchises. I may check in with you all from time to time on some other stuff, popular culture, music, politics, that kind of thing. But The Real Housewives is just, it keeps us going all the time because as you know, if you're a fan of the franchises, it rotates. So as soon as we wrap up one season, we got something else going, usually a couple of them at one time. I am checking in today. I'm a little late because I had to watch it a couple of times just to absorb The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Now in season 3. I don't know how you're feeling. I'd love to hear your opinion, but I'm still trying to decide whether or not I'm really into this franchise and the people. We know that, from season 2, we lost Mary and we lost, I forgot her name, the Vietnamese woman who apparently made a racial remark and it cost her spot on the show. And then we know Mary just didn't fit. I kind of miss her though, I gotta say. But she just did not fit, and it's no surprise to me at all. She didn't need the show. She wasn't growing from it. There was no synergy there, so I understand, but I do kind of sort of miss her. She was entertaining, her in that closet of hers, right? For those of you who saw it. But moving ahead. So now here we are, already at episode 9 of season 3. This one was called, me and my notes. I'm telling you, I had to sit down and watch it a couple of times, y'all, just to kind of wrap my head around what all was going on. All right. It was called, the title of the episode was, it's not a yacht of fun, right? Because they wind up on this yacht towards the end and everything just goes crazy. Not surprised. But what I got from this episode, again, I'm trying to watch these things and present them to them on these tapings with a view toward the spiritual lessons that we learn, the human lessons that we learn about one another, especially as women, because this show is geared, the housewives are geared towards women. All races, all backgrounds, and all geographical locations, which for me is kind of smart with the show. We're supposed to learn something. Utah, in particular, what does attract me to the show is the notion of, the Mormon culture, the spiritual culture, the idea of you thought you knew what this region of the country was all about, but you had no idea. There's all this other, stuff going on. So it's a view, it gives us a lens into this other world that normally we might not know about. Cool. However, these ladies have a lot to learn, in my opinion, about what I'm going to call girlfriend code. For instance, in this latest episode, number 9, there's not a yacht of fun. Angie K, I forget her last name, it's a Greek last name, I believe, but Angie K, who to me is positioning herself really to edge out Jen, because we know that Jen Shah is probably going to serve some time. I think the latest I heard is her sentencing is supposed to take place in January of 2023. So Jen, we're going to be missing Jen for a minute, right? Prayers for her, all jokes aside. Clearly she did what she did. How she managed to continue on the show and play the role that she's been playing in reality while these other developments have been taking shape, I don't even know. I did see her, maybe you did too, whip out that drawer in her bathroom with a whole shelf full of pills. I found it interesting, speaking of spiritual, aspects. I found it interesting that on the one hand, she talked about her relationship to Allah and her faith being, her stronghold. And on the other hand, she's got this drawer full of pills and saying, this is the only way that I've been able to maintain, my sanity. So I kind of find that that's another topic maybe to explore from a spiritual perspective, the extent to which you go through things in life, certainly an extreme in her case, where your faith can help you withstand. And on the other hand, you popping these pills so you can just, cope, check out, numb yourself, whatever the case may be. No judgment, because I'm not in her shoes, but I do find it an interesting sort of contrast in behavior. Okay, going back to the girlfriend code. So Angie K comes out of her bag towards Jen in front of the other women about the fact that she paid for Sharif's birthday party, 15 grand. That, she put numbers out there about how much money she was out of pocket and the fact that Jen never reimbursed her anything. Girlfriend code. Wealthy or poor, either way, why am I going to, or any of us as a girlfriend, going to voluntarily pay for another husband's party? That just, for me, does not make sense, right? She said, on the one hand, I love these editors, man. They be coming out with it, these producers and editors, those cuts that they put in there. So on the one hand, she was like, oh, we'll do it at my house. I got a brand new house. We haven't done a housewarming party. We can, kill two birds with one stone. We'll do the party for Sharif, and it'll be my housewarming party. Well, which was it? Because ultimately then, if you're saying, I put out all this money, it was really all about Sharif, and you don't owe me that money, that's breaking girlfriend code. Just decide, if you want to have a housewarming party, it happens to be another occasion that you want to celebrate me, my husband, whatever. Cool, we'll do that. Also, understanding, get clear. Jen and Angie, from what I heard, if I heard correctly, have been friends since high school. Like, they go way back. So you can't have a conversation ahead of time, perhaps off camera. Listen, we're going to do this. Here's what I'm looking at. Bills adding up to around 15 grand. What, you want to split it 50-50? It's my housewarming. It's Sharif's birthday. How you want to do it? I don't get that. That's breaking girlfriend code. You don't do something on the front end and then come behind like, blah, 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 blah. Not cool, Angie K. And that, to me, even if you are positioning yourself to get that snowflake, they call it, to be a cast member, a full-time cast member, in the next season, I don't think that's the way to go about it. I'm giving you a thumbs down on that. You broke girlfriend code. Number 2, girlfriend code. I'm calling it champagne behavior, right? Or the champagne, fluke. When Jen had her moment and poured the champagne on top of Angie K's head, as who was it that said a teaspoonful? Heather said a teaspoonful of champagne. So she drank most of it before she spilled it. But here's the thing. And I'm being a little snarky here, but it's what we do with Real Housewives. Who do you know that's going to take some champagne, raise their hand up high enough to dump it on top of your head? If you are making a statement, has Jen never watched Real Housewives of Potomac? Has she never watched, the Real Housewives of New Jersey when they decide to go at it? Because them girls go at it. If you're going to make a statement, then make that statement. When she doubled down on it and decided, okay, there was no reaction. Now, here's the girlfriend code part of it, you all. Nobody moved. When Jen poured that champagne over Angie K's head, nobody moved. Everybody was standing around like they either did not see it, it did not register. Who does that? When you have violated somebody's personal space in that manner, the first thing's going to happen is, if they're genuinely your friend, they're going to assume something else is about to jump off, okay? Like, get ready for that smoke. And they're going to intervene. They're either going to get in between you or do something, make some movement. Everybody was completely frozen in space. That's breaking girlfriend code. In that instance, to me, Jen did not have a friend in that room. And for that matter, neither did Angie K. Like, these women are not your friends. I hope that registered, all right? Third thing, pardon me here, the use of the term bitch. I'm not a fan of the word. I'll go ahead and say it. But we recognize that in today's climate, it is often used. And it was used several times on this show. Now, we have that notion of being a boss bitch, a rich bitch, and a bitchy bitch. Those are the 3 that I put down in girlfriend code on this episode that I witnessed in this show. Would love to hear what you have to say about it. Here's how I broke it down. The boss bitch was Big Mir, all right, Meredith, who Meredith is such an interesting character for me on the show because somehow she always manages to just sort of rise above the fray. She's like, I'm here, I know that I have, I'm under contract. I know that I have to film with you ladies, but there's a certain way that, I will only go so far. And so she just sort of, in addition to being above it all, she basically was just sort of, you felt like she was almost amused by it, like, that's happening in front of me right now. I do not have to react to you ladies, because clearly I am in a different category from the rest of you. I found that really interesting. And then we got the rich bitch, which is Lisa. Lisa has said before, I think it was last season, I really don't have to do this show. She's, she is who she is. She's got her merch and her marketing, if I could say it. She's doing okay for herself. She ain't Beverly Hills rich, but she's doing okay for herself. But she seems like, I don't want to invest my energy in something. I'm not going to intervene. I'm not going to really, when I have to take up for myself, I will. I think that she's acting, when I say rich bitch, she is acting in a way that says, I'm comfortable enough with myself, with my family. I love her dynamic with her son. What's his name? Jack? I really love her dynamic with Jack. Her husband, he just has this kind of blank look in his eyes a little bit, whenever I look at him on camera, I'm not quite so sure what's up with Lisa's husband. Maybe it's just not being comfortable filming. It is, again, that Mormon culture, so maybe he fears a little pushback. I'm not sure, but he always just comes across a little like weird in the eye to me. Finally, we got what I'm calling the bitchy bitch, which the person who takes the prize for that, especially in this episode to me, is none other than Miss Whitney Rose herself. Okay, we understand that Whitney is going through a little bit of shock right now, because her version of what was back in the old day, Kim Zolciak's Big Papa, Big Papa is out of a job because he lost his mind. He was thinking with the wrong head on a certain episode and decided he was going to spank her. They all muddied up, getting kinky on camera. What were you thinking? Like, okay, so he's out of a job. He was the primary breadwinner. Whitney, who clearly was like, I'm that hot chick that's gonna blow this man's mind and live the life of my dreams. She complains about on this episode that when she's getting ready for the trip, and her husband looks at her, Whitney's husband looks at her, and he's like, I see all these new tags on these clothes. And she's like, yeah, because that used to be my form of therapy. It's all your fault. And so she's in a bitchy mood because she realizes that her way of life and what she banked on by getting with her husband has now shifted. And now she's feeling the pressure to produce financially. And she's not quite so sure she can do it. So you can see her kind of pulling back. There's this one scene where, I can't remember if she called him or he called her, but no, I think she calls him and he says, listen, I'm in the middle of trying to figure out my situation with the 401k funds. She doesn't say, oh, okay, sweetheart, I love you, talk to you later, anything. She's like, yeah, handle that. Click. Bitchy bitch, Whitney Rose, okay? This man has held you down. Apparently you thought you got what you wanted, by landing him in the first place and doing whatever it is you felt like you had to do to get you there. And now that the tables have turned, in no small part due to you, because this happened due to filming on the show that you are a castmate on, all right? So own your part of it instead of just sitting around pouting like, what happened to my sugar daddy? I deserve a sugar daddy. I spent my whole teenage years plotting and planning how I was gonna get that sugar daddy. And now what, all right? Yeah. Not come on, Whitney. You're gonna have to come better than that with it. All right, you all. So to close out, I'm always gonna close out with some sort of lesson, asking Spirit, what lessons can we learn as women? Thinking about the girlfriend code, thinking about the ways that we saw it definitely not done. It didn't do too well in this episode in particular. And so what can we take away from it collectively in our learning about human behavior? Have faith. Have faith. So interesting that we would get that card on this particular show, where so much of what the dynamic and what makes us interested in Utah is the notion of how they are all relating to their faith. All right, so That's what we're being told. Still have faith in the girlfriend code, despite the fact that we saw some clear violations in this latest episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I am filming this on a Saturday morning. We know on Sunday night we got Potomac coming. So I'll be checking in with you guys probably Monday on that. Take it easy. Have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye.